enough. The warships arrived without warning. They tore open the night sky above a quiet wheat farm in the middle of nowhere, their engines burning like miniature suns. Thousands of soldiers poured from the ships, plasma cannons, orbital guns, armored exosuits. An entire invasion force for just 2 people. But what the galaxy didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, was that those 2 targets weren't alone. Because between the alien army and the twins they came to capture stood a single human farmer. An old man with dirt on his boots, a worn shotgun in his hands, and a promise he made 20 years ago. A promise that night on his farm when he found 2 abandoned children in the stars. And before the warships fired their first shot, the farmer said something that would echo across the galaxy. Enough. Those are my kids. And if you want them, you'll have to go through humanity first. 20 years earlier, it was the kind of quiet night farmers love. Crickets humming in the grass, wind whispering through endless golden fields. Jacob Miller sat on the porch of his tiny farmhouse outside a dusty rural town, sipping lukewarm coffee after a long day in the fields. Jacob wasn't rich. His tractor was older than most of the town's houses. His boots had holes, and his bank account barely existed. But he had something that mattered more, a stubborn heart and a kindness that refused to die. That night, as he stared up at the stars, as something strange streaked across the sky. At first, he thought it was a meteor. Then he realized that meteors don't slow down. The glowing object wobbled, spiraled, and slammed into the woods just beyond his farm. The ground shook. Birds exploded from the trees. Jacob sighed. Well, that can't be good. He grabbed his old lantern and his shotgun and walked into the forest. The crash site glowed faintly. Smoke curled from a small, shattered escape pod. Jacob frowned. Escape pod. He cautiously approached. The hatch hissed open. Inside were 2 tiny babies. They were wrapped in strange silver fabric. Their skin had a faint shimmer, almost like moonlight, and their eyes glowed softly in the dark. 1 boy, 1 girl, both crying softly. Jacob stood there for a long time, now frozen in shock. Then the girl reached out and grabbed his finger. And suddenly the farmer's heart made a decision his brain hadn't caught up to yet. Well, he muttered softly, I guess you 2 need a home. Jacob named them Lena and Kai. He never told the town where they came from. He simply said they were abandoned children he found. And the town, being the kind of place where people mind their own business, accepted it. Life wasn't easy. Raising 1 child on a farmer's income was hard. Raising 2 was no, but Jacob never once complained. He woke before sunrise every day. Worked the fields, fixed broken fences, cooked dinner, helped with homework. And every night the twins would sit on the porch and decide, where do stars come from? Lena once asked when she was 5. Jacob scratched his beard. Honestly, no clue. Kai tilted his head, but they feel familiar. But Jacob looked at them strangely. He had noticed something odd about the twins. Animals loved them. A storm seemed to bend around them, and sometimes when they were emotional, lights flickered. Machines malfunctioned. But Jacob never treated them like they were strange. To him, they were just his kids. 4 signs they are not normal. The first real sign happened when they were 12. A tornado was forming near the farm. Sirens screamed across the countryside. Jacob rushed the twins into the storm cellar. The sky roared like a monster. Wind tore through the fields. The tornado was heading directly for their home. Jacob held the cellar door shut as debris slammed against it. Then suddenly the wind stopped. Completely. Silence. Jacob slowly opened the door. The tornado had split in half. 2 swirling walls of destruction curved around the farm before merging again miles away. The farmhouse. The barns. Untouched, Jacob turned slowly toward the twins. Lena looked terrified. Kai stared at his hands. I didn't mean toe, Kai whispered. Jacob said nothing. He simply walked over and hugged them both tightly. Listen to me, he said softly. I don't care what you are. You're my kids. And that was the end of it. Or so he thought. 18 years after the crash, everything changed. It began with a signal far beyond Earth, deep in interstellar space. An ancient device suddenly activated. A beacon dormant for 2 decades finally found what it was searching for. The royal bloodline had been located. Across the galaxy, entire civilizations reacted because Lena and Kai were not just aliens. They were the last surviving heirs of the Aurelian Empire, an empire older than most stars. An empire destroyed in a brutal coup 20 years earlier. On the night the royal family was assassinated, the 2 infant heirs had been smuggled away in a desperate escape pod. Everyone believed they were dead. But now the truth had surfaced, and the usurper who stole the throne, the tyrant Emperor Varkish, would do anything to make sure those heirs never lived to reclaim it. So he sent an army, not soldiers, not assassins, an invasion fleet. The warships appeared above Earth without warning. Governments panicked. Satellites detected hundreds of massive alien vessels entering orbit. Messages flooded global networks. A transmission from the alien fleet finally arrived. Simple. We seek 2 individuals located on this planet. Deliver them, or your world will be cleansed. Humanity demanded proof. The aliens sent images. 2 faces. Lena Miller, Kai Miller, farm kids from rural Earth. Governments were confused. But before they could even respond, alien drop ships descended toward the exact coordinates of the farm. Jacob was fixing a fence when the ships appeared. The sky filled with shadows. Engines thundered. Soldiers poured from the landing crafts. Lena and Kai stood beside him, their eyes. I think this might be about us. Lena whispered. Jacob looked the army marching across his fields. Hundreds of armored warriors. Energy weapons glowing. He took a slow breath, then walked back to the porch, picked up his old shotgun, and stepped forward. The alien commander approached, towering, metallic armor gleaming. You harbor the royal heirs of the Aurelian Empire, the commander said. Thee must come with us. Jacob spat in the dirt. They're not going anywhere. You cannot stop us. Jacob shrugged. Maybe not, but you'll have to try. The commander raised his weapon. Then something unexpected happened. Engines roared across the horizon, trucks, helicopters, tanks, farmers from neighboring towns, police. Soldiers, then more vehicles, National Guard units, fighter jets screamed overhead, news cameras arrived. Within hours, the entire world was watching, and something strange happened. Humanity made a decision. They stood with the farmer because the story spread across the planet. 2 children abandoned, raised by a poor man who never asked for anything. Now, an alien empire wanted them, and humans don't abandon family. The alien commander received new orders: capture the heirs, no matter the cost. War erupted. Alien soldiers advanced across the farm. Human forces pushed. Jets fought alien fighters. It's in the skanks fired at towering war machines. The battle was chaotic, desperate enough. Human technology was primitive compared to the alien fleet, but humans had something the invaders didn't understand: stubborn courage. Farmers fought beside soldiers. Mechanics turned tractors into barricades. Civilians evacuated town and brought supplies. Across the planet, people rallied. Protect the twins. It became humanity's mission. And as the battle raged, something inside Lena and Kai awakened. Their true power, energy radiated from them like rising suns. Their voices echoed with ancient authority. The blood of emperors had awakened. But instead of unleashing destruction, they stepped forward toward the alien army and spoke. I am Lena Aurelian. I am Kai Aurelian, the rightful heirs of the empire you stole. The alien soldiers froze. Even the commander hesitated because royal blood carried a power deeper than weapons, and the twins weren't alone. Behind them stood humanity. Millions of ordinary people refusing to surrender them. The alien commander finally lowered his weapon. He looked at the humans standing shoulder to shoulder, farmers, teachers, soldiers, families, protecting 2 children who weren't even their own species. You risk your entire world for them, he asked. Jacob stepped forward again. Dear family, the commander studied the humans silently. Then something unexpected happened. He knelt. One by one, the alien soldiers followed. Because the truth was spreading across their fleet, the rightful heirs lived. And the tyrant emperor who ordered their deaths had lied to the entire empire. The invasion force changed sides right there in the middle of a wheat field. Months later, the galaxy erupted into revolution. With the Heirs alive, countless systems rebelled against Emperor Varkish. And when the final battle ended, the Earthling Empire was reborn. But Lin and Kai made a surprising decision. They didn't leave Earth immediately. Instead, they returned to the small farm. Jacob sat on the porch as they approached in royal robes, crowns resting lightly on their heads. Well, that's new. Lena hugged him tightly. "You're coming with us." Jacob blinked. "Excuse me?" And Kay grinned. "You raised two emperors, Duff, which makes you two technically the most important farmer in the galaxy." Jacob sighed, looked out at his wheat fields, then back at the twins he found in a broken pod 20 years ago. "Well," he muttered, "I suppose someone's got to keep you two out of trouble." And so the poor human farmer left Earth not as a king, not as a ruler, but as something far more powerful. The man who proved something the entire galaxy would never forget. Humanity may be young, humanity may be weak, but if you threaten our family, we will stand against the stars themselves, and we will not back down. The night the spacecraft fell from the sky, the town of Red Valley was quiet enough to hear the wind moving through the wheat fields. It was the kind of small rural town most people forgot existed. A handful of houses, a lonely gas station, one diner with flickering neon lights, and miles of farmland stretching under an endless sky. Life there moved slowly. Nothing exciting ever happened. That was why everyone noticed when the stars suddenly changed. At first, it looked like a meteor. A bright streak of white fire cut across the sky, glowing brighter and brighter as it threw through the atmosphere. Old Mr. Carter, who had been sitting on his porch drinking tea, squinted upward. "Now that's a strange one," he muttered. "But meteors don't change direction." The glowing object slowed, wobbling as if it were fighting gravity itself. Its light shifted from white to an eerie blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. And the air vibrated with a low humming sound that spread across the valley. Then the object suddenly dropped. It didn't explode like people expected. Instead, it plunged behind a distant hill just outside town with a heavy, thunderous crash that shook windows and rattled dishes in cupboards. Dogs began barking, lights flitting across Red Valley. For a few moments, nobody moved. The silence that followed felt unnatural, like the world itself was holding its breath. Then curiosity won. Within minutes, a few pickup trucks were rumbling down the dirt road toward the crash site. In small towns, strange things didn't stay secret for long. Among those driving toward the hill was a farmer named Daniel Hayes. Daniel was used to strange noises in the night. Coyotes, storms, even the occasional tractor breaking down. But whatever had fallen from the sky that was different. His truck climbed the dusty road slowly until he reached the edge of his northern field. And that was when he saw it. The wheat had been flattened in a perfect circle, nearly 50 meters wide. At the center of it sat something that absolutely did not belong on Earth. A small spacecraft. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, glowing softly with a pale blue light. Thin trails of smoke drifted from the hull, and strange symbols flickered across its curved body like living letters. Daniel stepped out of his truck slowly. The air felt warm, almost electric. Behind him, other towns were arriving, their headlights cutting through the darkness. People whispered nervously as they stared at the impossible object sitting in the middle of the field. "Wait, that's human," someone murmured. "Military, maybe." Daniel shook his head. He'd seen military helicopters before. This was something else entirely. Watched. The craft suddenly hissed. A thin seam appeared along its side. The metal split open. Several people stumbled backward in fear, but nothing came out. No monsters, no soldiers, just silence. Daniel hesitated for a moment, then slowly walked forward through the flattened wheat. Every step felt heavier than the last, enough like he was crossing into a place that didn't belong to his world. When he reached the craft, he could see inside. The interior glowed faintly, illuminated by strange floating lights. And in the center of the small chamber were two tiny figures, 2 infants. They were wrapped in a silvery fabric that shimmered like starlight. Their skin was pale, the faint bluish glow and delicate patterns run across their arms like soft veins of light. They were incredibly small. And they were crying, not loudly, but weakly, like they had been crying for a very long time. Daniel froze. The babies looked fragile, exhausted, and alone. One of them, a little girl, moved her tiny hand weakly toward the opening of the craft. Her fingers trembled. Enough. The boy beside her barely stirred, his breathing slow and even. Whoever had sent them here hadn't survived the journey. The realization sent a chill down Daniel's spine. These children hadn't just arrived, they had been abandoned, or worse, rescued at the last possible moment. Behind him, the townspeople were whispering anxiously. Enough. Are those kids? They're not human. What do we do? Daniel didn't answer them. He carefully stepped closer to the craft and gently lifted the girl first. She weighed almost nothing, like holding a bundle of feathers. Her glowing eyes opened slowly, staring up at him with a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. For a moment, the crying stopped. The baby simply looked at him. Then her tiny fingers wrapped around his rough, dirt-covered thumb. And something changed. The faint glow across her skin pulsed once as softly. Daniel felt warmth spread through his hand, not painful, but strangely comforting. Like the baby somehow recognized safety. He swallowed hard and picked up the second child. The boy stirred weakly in his arms, but didn't cry. His glowing eyes blinked slowly, as if he barely had the strength to stay awake. Daniel turned back toward the crowd of nervous townspeople. They're just babies, he said quietly. Someone shook their head. Those things came from space. They could be dangerous. Daniel looked down at the fragile twins in his arms. Dangerous. They could barely even move. They're starving, he replied. The baby's strange glow flickered again, dimmer this time. Whatever power they had, it was fading. Daniel made his decision right then. He walked back toward his truck, holding them carefully against his chest. Daniel, what are you doing? Someone asked. He opened the passenger door and gently wrapped the twins in an old blanket. What anyone decent would do, he said. Do you need help? Behind him, the mysterious spacecraft hummed faintly in the dark field, its lights slowly fading as if its purpose had finally been fulfilled. No one in Red Valley realized it yet, but the moment those 2 abandoned alien twins touched Earth, the fate of the entire galaxy had quietly changed forever. Morning came slowly over Red Valley, spilling soft golden light across endless fields of wheat. The town looked exactly the same as it always had, quiet roads, old barns, and the distant sound of tractors starting their daily work. But Daniel Hayes knew that nothing was the same anymore. In the passenger seat of his dusty pickup truck, wrapped inside an old wool blanket, were the 2 most unusual children he had ever seen. The alien twins were asleep now, their tiny bodies curled close together as if they were the only comfort the other had left in the universe. In the pale morning light, their strange features were easier to see. Their skin carried a faint silver blue shimmer, almost like moonlight resting on water. Thin, glowing patterns ran across their arms. Dim now, but still visible. Daniel kept glancing at them while he drove down the empty dirt road toward his farm. His mind was racing. The logical part of him kept saying the same thing over and over. Call the authorities, call the government, call someone who understands space. But another voice inside him kept answering with a single thought. They're just babies. The girl's first, her glowing eyes opened slowly, watching the sunlight flicker through the truck window. She made a small sound, half curiosity, a half confusion, and reached her tiny hand toward the light. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Easy there, little one, he murmured gently. She turned her head toward him, blinking slowly. For a moment, the faint patterns on her skin glowed brighter, like they were reacting to his voice. Then the boy woke as well. Unlike his sister, he didn't cry or move much. His eyes simply open, calm, and observant, studying the strange world around him. 2 children from another planet sitting in the front seat of a farmer's old pickup truck. Daniel almost laughed at the absurdity of, what in the world am I supposed to do with you 2? He muttered softly. The truck rolled past the wooden gate that marked the entrance to his farm. It wasn't much. Just a small farmhouse, a weathered red barn, and a few acres of wheat that barely made enough money to keep things running. Daniel had lived there alone for years. His wife had passed away long ago, and they had never been able to have children. Since then, the house had felt too quiet, too empty. But now, as he parked the truck beside the house and carefully lifted the twins into his arms, that silence felt different. Inside the farmhouse, the air smelled faintly of coffee and old wood. Sunlight filtered through thin curtains, lighting up dust floating in the air. Daniel placed the twins gently on the kitchen table while he searched the cabinets. They were clearly hungry. It didn't take long to realize he had no idea what alien babies were supposed to eat. He found an old bottle that once belonged to a neighbor's child and warmed some milk, hoping it wouldn't hurt them. The girl drank first. At first, she hesitated enough, sniffing the bottle curiously. Then hunger took over, and she grabbed it with surprising strength for such a small body. Her glow brightened slightly as she drank. The boy followed soon after, quieter but just as eager. Daniel leaned against the counter, watching them. They looked so fragile, so helpless. Whatever world they came from had been desperate to send them away like that. After they finished eating, the twins fell asleep again almost instantly, curled together on a folded blanket. Daniel sat down at the table and rubbed his face. Reality was starting to catch up with him. Sooner or later, someone would come asking questions. The crash site would be investigated. Government officials, scientists, maybe even the military would show up. And when they did, they would want the twins. They would take them away to labs, study them like experiments, maybe separate them. The thought made Daniel's stomach twist, and he looked down at the sleeping children. The girl had one tiny hand wrapped around her brother's arm. Even in sleep, they refused to let go of each other. Enough. They already lost everything, Daniel whispered. Outside, the wind rustled softly through the wheat fields. Daniel stood up slowly and walked to the window. If he reported them, they might survive, but they wouldn't have a life. They would grow up surrounded by scientists and soldiers instead of love, instead of family. He turned back toward the table. The girl shifted slightly, her glowing eyes opening just a little. For a moment, she looked directly at him, not afraid, not confused, just trusting, as if she somehow already believed he would protect them. Daniel felt something deep inside his chest crack open. A quiet loneliness he had carried for years suddenly met something new. Responsibility, homely. He walked back to the table and gently picked them both up again. "Well," he said softly, rocking them in his arms. "Enough. I guess that settles it." He carried them down the hallway to the spare bedroom that had been empty for nearly a decade. The room still held an old crib he had never had the heart to throw away. Daniel placed the twins inside carefully. They curled together immediately, their faint glow pulsing gently in the dim room. He stood there for a long moment, watching them breathe. Then he spoke the words that would quietly change all of their lives. "Looks like I've got 2 kids now." The farmhouse was still poor. The future was still uncertain. And somewhere out in the universe, powerful forces might already be searching for the missing alien twins, but for now, they were safe. Because in a quiet farmhouse in Red Valley, 2 abandoned children from the stars had just found something they had never expected to discover on Earth: a father